Young Master Jacob broke up with me, and I cried until my eyes were red. He frowned impatiently. Do you love me that much? Then, he transferred me 10 million as a parting gift. Covering my mouth, I ran away heartbroken. Everyone thought I was madly in love with him, a hopelessly devoted simp. Until that day when my social media account was accidentally exposed. Cold as a fish, stubborn as a mule. Damn it, I'm so sick of this idiot. Finally broke up, hee. Jacob crushed the wine glass expressionlessly and sent a message. I'll give you another 10 million. Don't you dare let me catch you. After 3 weeks of dating, Jacob sent me a breakup text. Unwilling to accept it, I came to confront him. Inside the private room, the lighting was dim. In front of his friends, I bit my lip hard, my voice trembling with tears. Honey, are we really breaking up? Jacob leaned back on the sofa, a cigarette burning between his fingers. Fine, let us break up, he said with a lazy posture and an indifferent tone. Don't just tell me what I did wrong, I'll change. Pitiful me, crying like a dog, my heart ached so badly, I could barely breathe. A few seconds of silence. Jacob furrowed his brows and stubbed out his cigarette, meeting my teary red eyes. A mix of irritation and helplessness flashed in his gaze. Do you really love me this much? I nodded tearfully. I love you so much, hubby. His frown deepened, lips pressed into a thin line. A moment later, my bank account received a 10 million breakup fee. Jacob turned his face away, cruelly dismissing me. This is compensation, forget about me. In an instant, my face turned deathly pale, my frail body swaying unsteadily. Fine, have it your way. Tears rolled down my cheeks, covering my mouth. I turned and ran away swiftly under the pitying gazes of the crowd. Behind me, someone couldn't help but speak up. Jacob using money to sever ties is nothing but a blatant humiliation to her. She looks so pitiful, like she's about to fall apart. Should I go get the money back now? Jacob's hesitant voice came through faintly. I ran even faster. The night wind was chilly and the streets were deserted. I crouched under the streetlight, my face melancholy, my eyelashes still damp. The system scratched its head to comfort me. Sweetie, don't be too sad, at least the mission is complete. I lowered my eyes and touched the wound on the back of my hand. It was from a few days ago when I accidentally fell and got scratched while delivering breakfast to Jacob. A thin, shallow scab had already formed on the surface. You think I'm about to fall apart too, sigh. Suddenly, I feel something indescribable. System, feels like a nun being slandered with baseless rumors, utterly powerless. 3. The system was stunned, nearly breaking down. You were acting. How about that? Worthy of a Best Actress gold medal, right? I stood up, stretching leisurely. After my sudden death, I was bound by a love system and brought here. The system stated that I must successfully romance a top-tier exceptional man and maintain a relationship with him for at least 3 weeks. Only then would I be rewarded with a second chance at life and return to my original world. It locked onto my target for me, Jacob, the heir of the Jacob Group. Handsome and wealthy, yet cold as ice. Difficulty, level 5 stars. I've been working on this conquest for months, clinging desperately, playing the lovesick fool. Even the system thought I'd genuinely fallen head over heels, but Jacob remained unmoved. Then somehow he suddenly agreed to be with me, still icy as ever. Wouldn't even hold hands. The whole relationship only survived because I kept licking his boots. But none of that matters. Smiling, I took out my phone to check my account balance. System, can I take the money with me? As expected of a corporate heir so generous with his spending. No, fine. After all that crying and fussing, it was all for nothing. For after submitting the task, the system still needs a few days to upload. Since I couldn't take the money with me, I decided to splurge recklessly before leaving. Driving sports cars, living in luxury penthouses, and shopping sprees at malls. Those days were filled with extravagant excess and decadent indulgence. That evening I arrived at the bar all dressed up, ready to dance. As I stepped out of the restroom, by sheer coincidence, I bumped into Jacob's friend. Evelyn here to see Jacob. No, we're done with each other. I waved my hand dismissively and prepared to make a quick exit. Sigh, it's really heartbreaking. His childhood sweetheart returned from abroad today, and they're throwing a welcome party. Let me take you inside. He sighed with considerable pity, wearing that knowing expression that said, stop pretending, I know you can't let him go. Then he dragged my desperately resisting self into a VIP private room. In the room, Jacob, exuding an air of noble elegance, looked over with a stern expression. Beside him sat a sweet-looking girl. You must be Jacob's ex-girlfriend. Pathetic loser, you deserve to be dumped. You're not worthy of him at all. Stay away from Jacob from now on. Margaret shot me a venomous glare, her tone dripping with poison. 5. Yes, you're worthy, only you are worthy. Life is dull and tasteless. A toad leaps out to critique humanity. The mission was complete, and I couldn't be bothered to keep pretending. Who cares if Jacob welcomes me or not? I leisurely took my seat, crossed my legs, and poured myself a glass of wine. Margaret was furious, clutching her chest, and pretended to faint into Jacob's arms. Jacob, she insulted me. Jacob's expression darkened slightly as he suddenly stood up. Evelyn. His posture suggested he was about to stand up for Margaret. Margaret missed her target, then rose again to try clinging to his arm. Jacob. Before she could touch him, Jacob abruptly sat back down again. He stared at me with a detached expression and calmly uttered, you've gone too far. The atmosphere was tense until someone tried to smooth things over. We're all friends here. Come on, let us drink. Margaret, don't provoke her. She's just overwhelmed with grief. She was the one who bullied her first. Margaret burst into tears, turning the tables with false accusations. I genuinely found her foolishness endearing, pitiable, and lamentable all at once. Talking to you is a complete waste of time. I'd rather spend this time scrolling through social media. Playing dumb is fine, but don't overdo it. You're like a deranged woman with memory loss and cerebellar atrophy. 6. Margaret let out a scream and nearly fainted. Everyone thought I was heartbroken to the point of emotional instability. They all urged her not to take it to heart with me. Amidst the chaotic mess, my sharp eyes caught Jacob seemingly curling his lips in a faint smile. How was he smiling about? Oh, must be laughing in anger. Margaret calmed down slightly, then suddenly her eyes darted around mischievously as a malicious mocking smile appeared. Do you play on social media? I wonder what's recorded in your account. Daily life of a simp. Don't mind sharing with us. My expression stiffened slightly as I tried to brush it off vaguely. I just surfed the web for gossip. Seeing my reluctance, Margaret became even more insistent. She wanted to use this opportunity to humiliate me. Just got your number, she snorted, triumphantly waving her phone. Open the app, enter the phone number to search all in one go. My face instantly turned deathly pale, but it was too late to stop it. Could only watch helplessly. The interface jumped to the user profile of Wolf in Liangpi disguise. 7, probably because my expression looked too awful and tense. Jacob frowned, his voice turning cold with a hint of warning. Stop looking, close it. At least he had some conscience. Feeling guilty for this humble devoted simp, he actually stood up for me. Margaret deliberately tried to embarrass me. Not only did he not turn it off, but he enthusiastically projected it for everyone to see together. I couldn't stay any longer. I hurriedly got up and rushed out the door. I'm heading back. First, the mosquitoes at home have been starving all day. They all thought my pathetic simp behavior was about to be exposed, so I fled in humiliated anger. Little did they know those records line by line were all my complaints and sarcastic remarks about Jacob. If I don't run now, I'm done for. Not long after I left, the crowd stared at the big screen in complete silence. What Prince Charming and the Princess S. Nanny here, look how high and mighty you're acting. Good morning text left on read. Fine. I 1T blame Jacob. It's my fault for not having enough boyfriends. A cold fish, a stubborn mule. Damn it, I'm so sick of this unresponsive idiot. Finally broke up 10 million in the bank, hee. In the dead silence, Jacob's jaw tightened. He crushed the wine glass in his hand without a flicker of emotion. Then he grabbed his coat and stood up to leave. Jacob, where are you going? To catch someone, he smiled as warmly as spring breeze. 8. My phone was bombarded with incessant dings and notifications. Returning to the luxurious penthouse, I tremblingly opened it. After countless unanswered calls, Jacob finally sent a message. I'll give you another 10 million. Don't let me catch you. Just looking at it, I could imagine him typing through gritted teeth. The system activated, warning anxiously. He LL, find you soon. What's there to fear? I'm leaving soon anyway. Wrapped in a blanket like a salted fish, I flopped casually onto the sofa. I asked it again. Has the task still not been successfully submitted after all this time? The system slapped its forehead and said it would go check. A few minutes later, it came scrambling back in a panic, stammering that something had gone wrong. Network lag had caused the task submission to fail. Ahaha, look at this mess. Guess I'll have to trouble you to do it again. The system let out an awkward laugh, its voice trembling with guilt. My vision went black, and I nearly fainted. After just offending Jacob, how am I supposed to do it again? Just die already. I was in the midst of a frantic meltdown when suddenly the door was knocked. My heart gave a violent jolt from fright. He found me this quickly. Outside the door, Jacob's handsome face was dark with stormy anger. He suppressed his emotions with great effort, his low and icy voice enunciating each word slowly. Evelyn, get out here. System number 9 trembled as it lit a cigarette. Sweetheart, maybe you should jump out the window and escape first. Don't worry, with good luck you might only break half your bones. I should never have been so reckless as to take that 10 million. Now we're screwed. My entire body went limp as I let out a desperate laugh, my voice trembling. Haha, whatever, I've got a death wish personality. Anyway, let him try to kill me, if he dares. Can't blame me for choosing to give up the fight. Jacob was the type who usually seemed careless and indifferent, showing little emotion. In truth, he was vengeful to the extreme, nursing grudges with ruthless finality. A few minutes later, the door was kicked open by bodyguards, dust swirling as Jacob stepped in unhurriedly. Slumped on the floor, my survival instincts suddenly flared up. System, is there an emergency escape service? My personality might be malfunctioning. The system went offline in a panic without any response from the higher-ups. Playing dead at a critical moment, huh? Cold sweat broke out on my back, and I gritted my teeth in frustration. Jacob's grim face gradually emerged from the smoke and dust. Didn't I tell you not to let me catch you? A sharp, sinister gaze fell upon me, brimming with lethal intent. Whatever, I'll just have to brazen it out. Steeling myself, I pinched my thigh hard until my eyes suddenly reddened. Honey, didn't you realize all my smiles were forced? I was just being stubborn. Don't you know how much I've loved you during this time? Can I have just a little bit of pride and say something tough behind your back? 10. Jacob lifted his eyelids expressionlessly. Oh, really? I stiffened my neck, letting tears fall at just the right moment, tilting my face slightly. My slender frame trembled with each sob like a stubborn little white flower. Jacob studied me for a long moment, his gaze casually sweeping across my luxurious penthouse. His eyes finally settled on the pile of newly purchased designer handbags. Clutching my chest, I cried with even more dramatic flair. After breaking up with you, I could only vent my inner collapse by shopping endlessly. All I gained was cold, emotionless money, but what I lost was your warm presence. If I had a choice, I'd rather give up 10 million than be without you. Jacob raised an eyebrow. Give up 10 million. Bitchem, just me. I nodded eagerly, like pounding garlic, raising my deer-like eyes with an air of melancholy, my gaze sincere and full of anticipation. He stared at me for a long moment. Fine, then give me my money back. I sank into an even deeper breakdown. The money was almost all spent. Where could I possibly scrape together 10 million now? Even if I sold the luxury penthouse and all the designer bags, it still wouldn't be enough to cover that amount. This realization lasted until Jacob walked away coolly. I snapped out of my daze and barely managed to grasp another layer of meaning. System, does he mean could it be? The system gave me a thumbs up. Brilliant, host, as expected of you. Jacob actually agreed to get back together with you. I beamed with joy and sprang up from the ground in one swift motion. Immediately getting into character, I excitedly grabbed my phone and sent Jacob a message. Honey, does this mean you're willing to get back together with me? Jacob's reply came quickly. Who said anything about getting back together? I'll give you one more chance to chase after me. Damn it, now I really have to start all over again. 11. I was back to being Jacob's pathetic little lapdog again. But at least I had experience this time. Being his doormat again would be a piece of cake. Unlike the early days when I bought breakfast for Jacob only for him to have an allergic reaction. Or when I brought homemade soup to the sick Jacob only for the mushrooms to be poisonous, making him even more ill. Even the gift I gave him after his hospital discharge, a tie, was in his least favorite color. I remember Jacob, freshly stomach pumped, lying pale and frowning at me from his hospital bed. Jacob, are you trying to woo me or kill me? Or are you saying if I refuse you'll finish me off? I didn't dare say a word. At that time Jacob's brothers all said Jacob was probably going to meet his end because of me. Literally folded in half. At 6 in the morning, carrying Jacob's favorite breakfast from that shop he loves, I knocked on his door. In the past, to play the sympathy card, I'd always wait at his doorstep by 6 a.m. When Jacob got up and saw me, he frowned with irritation. Evelyn, coming this early, are you here to sleep? My face flushed slightly as I smiled with gentle shyness. That's the ultimate goal. But for now, I want you to see me first when you wake up. Jacob looked at me like I was an idiot at that moment. Oh my god, I can't believe I have to go through such a disgusting plot again. After waiting at the door for a while, Jacob's slightly hoarse voice came through the smart lock's microphone. Enter the password yourself and come in. I was a bit surprised the password looked like someone's birthday. But I remember Jacob was born in 98 with a birthday in winter. Jacob lounged lazily on the sofa, his slightly reddened eyes lifting at the corners from drowsiness. Come in by yourself next time. I immediately put on a teary-eyed expression and asked him tenderly, honey, why did you wake up so early today? His gaze fell upon the breakfast in my hands, his long lashes casting a faint shadow. To have breakfast, does that count? I understood it was to torment me. 12. Jacob leisurely finished his breakfast, then had me buy him crystal shrimp dumplings from another shop in the eastern part of town. I picked up my phone to order takeout. Jacob, is it you chasing me or the delivery guy chasing me? Fine, I'll go buy it. After huffing and puffing back with crystal shrimp dumplings, I personally arranged them on the dining table, pulled out a chair, and forced out a gentle smile at him. Honey, come eat now. Jacob didn't even sit down, just took one glance. The dumpling skins are sticking together. Damn it, I rode my bike back and forth for 3 miles. He didn't eat a single bite. He was clearly doing it on purpose. My lips trembled with rage. I could wrapped him up like a dumpling and devoured him whole. But I had no choice but to swallow my anger. Pitching my voice higher, I tugged at his arm. Honey, what would you like to eat? I'll cook for you every day from now on. So at noon I made him sweet and sour spare ribs. In the evening I prepared several specialty dishes for him and even thoughtfully tidied up his room. With such tireless devotion for me, even a heart of stone would have to soften a little, right? Rubbing my hands together, I asked sweetly, honey, how was your day today? Waiting for him to praise me, but he just glanced at me sideways and continued eating leisurely. The work's done, so leave. Do I need to escort you out? Yet I still caught the faintest upward curve in his tightly pressed lips. He was indeed toying with me, mocking me, laughing at me. Fine, I'll leave some gaze at the sea, some are loved while others get kicked around like stray dogs by the roadside. By the time I left his villa, it was already dark. I took offense at the little pebbles by the lawn, kicking them while cursing. Husband, may I kindly inquire after your ancestors for 8 generations? If it weren't for getting back to my original world, who do you want to serve you like a dog? Whoa, I miss my parents so much. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but I keep feeling someone's gaze fixed on me from behind. I suddenly turned around, though the lights were on in the villa's second floor. No one stood by the window. 13. That's right, Jacob was happily enjoying the meal I made at this moment, and he suddenly get the urge to go to the balcony to see me off. Exhausted, my eyes were glazed over as I finally dragged my weary body home. Before going to bed, I gritted my teeth and sent Jacob a message, another day of loving my hubby. I threw my phone aside and immediately fell asleep. I woke up the next day to an alarm before 6 o'clock and set off on my bicycle again. Friends, have you ever fought desperately for someone? I've never worked this hard even for my job. Jacob was dressed in black silk pajamas, looking both ascetic and aloof. But the way he looked at me seemed different from usual. He even took the initiative to greet me. Oh, you're here. I flashed a radiant smile. Another wonderful day to be with my husband. He gave me a faint glance. An indescribable expression crossed his face. In the following days, he quite comfortably enjoyed my attentions, playing the role of the pampered young master to perfection. But his erratic behavior became increasingly frequent. The more gentle I acted, the more irritable he became. The sweeter my words became, the more he scoffed at them. I was puzzled. Wasn't this exactly what used to work on him before? What has gotten into him lately? I tugged at his arm, cooing repeatedly, "Honey, pay attention to me, one to you." "Don't shout nonsense." His voice was slightly hoarse. Grumpily, I walked to the balcony and lit a cigarette. A few days later, Jacob suddenly suggested that I accompany him to a banquet as his female companion. Apparently private torment wasn't enough, he wanted to humiliate me in public too. That's right, after all, I made him lose face in front of so many people. He must be looking to save face. 14. The night was deep and the city lights began to glow. The banquet hall was filled with dignitaries and nobles. Margaret, in the crowd holding a wine glass, wore a champagne-colored fishtail dress with a sweet smile. Her elegant and noble demeanor shattered the moment she caught sight of me happily feasting at the dining table. "Deceitful wretch, how dare you show up here? Who let you in?" With a twisted expression, Margaret screamed and charged toward me. The pudding got stuck in my throat from the shock, nearly choking me to death. "Thank you for adding some fury to my otherwise dull life." After finally recovering from the scare, I leaned in close to her ear with a smile. "Let me tell you a secret, Jacob and I have made up. He is totally in love with me." Impossible. Margaret turned deathly pale, her defenses crumbling in disbelief. "You wicked woman, played with his feelings and swindled his money. I won't allow you two to reconcile. Get out, I say." The shrill female voice pierced through my eardrums. I turned a deaf ear, picked up a plate of mousse cake, and leisurely started eating. "As for your precious opinion, all I have to say is no way. My standing here is one big middle finger to you and the world." Margaret's chest heaved violently, on the verge of fainting from anger. Just as he was about to lash out at me with a twisted expression, his face suddenly changed completely. "Sis, please don't scold me anymore. I was just joking." His voice carried a sob, appearing exceptionally harmless and pitiful. I responded flatly, "Little sister, your joke isn't even as funny as your face. You vile woman." A soft chuckle sounded by my ear as Jacob appeared behind me out of nowhere. Tears welled up in Margaret's eyes as she pointed at me with a pitiful, honeyed voice. "Jacob, this awful woman sneaked into the banquet, and she even insulted me. Her diamond-studded long nails nearly poked me in the face." Jacob gave me a cold glance, his lips curling in a half-smile as he retorted, "Got back together, I'm so in love." 15. He was a little angry. I could sense it was it, because Margaret got the wrong idea. I steadied my voice, forced a smile, and shook my head. No, I absolutely love it. Being apart from you, I'm like a fish out of water, a dying donkey." Those things I posted on social media were actually intentional, just to get my husband's attention again. It was all a calculated game of playing hard to get, placing myself in the unrequited position of a love-struck fool. I deliberately spoke these words loudly, saving his face in front of everyone. As expected, Jacob's expression instantly brightened. My heart darkened. The previous successful conquest was probably just Jacob fooling around when Margaret wasn't around. It's probably difficult now. I started worrying again when Margaret suddenly made a strange remark. "Why is Jacob wearing a blue tie today? What brand is it? Doesn't Jacob hate this color the most?" I don't know if it's my imagination, but Jacob actually looked somewhat uncomfortable. He turned his face away, his lips pressed into a tight line. "What I liked yesterday, I might not like today. What I hated yesterday, I might unexpectedly like today." I blinked my eyes that sounded quite convoluted. Margaret's face drained of color, and the tears in her eyes became genuine. "Jacob, I knew you were still angry about me leaving the country without saying goodbye back then." Unable to bear the man's cold indifference, she ran away in tears. I thought Jacob would chase after her, but he just looked at me with calm eyes. "Evelyn, you've got quite the sharp tongue. This is absurd. Seriously, how can you blame this argument on me?" The banquet ended. On the way back, the car was silent as Jacob turned his head to gaze out the window without saying a word. I was just about to say something flirtatious when my gaze suddenly fell on that necktie. Earlier, I was too busy bickering with Margaret to take a proper look. Wasn't that the tie I gave him? Bought from a street stall, 1990 for $2. We didn't speak again the whole way. When Jacob dropped me off at home, he cleared his throat and suddenly said, "Blue is actually quite nice too, don't you think?" I choked up, suddenly feeling at a loss, but I still nodded perfunctorily. Yes, whatever you say, dear." Jacob kept a straight face and stared at me for a long while. Then he tugged at the corner of his lips and kicked me out of the car. 16. Suddenly, I felt so annoyed. I knew Jacob liked Margaret. She was going to break up with me as soon as she returned. Bringing me to the banquet was just to make Margaret angry. He frowned when I argued with Margaret. I already knew that, so maybe I should switch to a different target. Just as I was getting frustrated, the long silent system suddenly wheezed back to life. "Sweetie, thinking of changing targets. This one's really on me. I'll put in an application for you. They usually get approved. You can switch targets. Why didn't you say so earlier?" Hearing this, I burst into tears of joy, forgetting even to scold it. Finally, I can get rid of that bastard. Overcome with excitement, I couldn't resist ranting on social media again. "LOL, only idiots get back together. I'm done serving you." 2 minutes later, a comment appeared below. A black avatar with a brief reply. My heart skipped a beat, and sure enough, my phone rang immediately. Jacob's voice was low and icy. "Come here now. I want to come over, afraid I might not resist the urge to blow your head off if I do." Beaming with delight, I hung up the phone and then powered it off, prepared to flee overnight, but 5 minutes later, the system spoke with a lack of confidence, hesitating before forcing out a few words. "For some reason there's been an unexpected issue. This time the target can't be changed." The system comforted me. "Sweetie, just go deceive him a little longer." What a vicious system. I might as well just die. My face was pale as I drowned in overwhelming grief, trembling as I unlocked my phone again. Countless missed calls. Wiping away tears, I called back with an ingratiating voice, "Jacob, I'm coming right now." On the other end, the man scoffed coldly, coming to bash my head in. 17. By the time I arrived at Jacob's house, it was already late at night. He sat in the dimly lit living room, the lights off, his star-cold eyes gleaming with the night's chill, terrifyingly icy. On the coffee table sat a nearly empty bottle of liquor. So eager to throw me away, his voice betrayed neither anger nor joy. "I suspect Jacob is going crazy on me because he had a fight with Margaret. Is there a chance to take advantage of the situation?" My eyes lit up as I gave a faint smile. "How could that be? I just got so twisted with jealousy watching you and Margaret make eyes at each other. You understand, right? I was so jealous. I went crazy. My mind stopped working properly, and I started talking nonsense." Jacob remained silent. My heart was in turmoil, and just as I was about to speak, I felt a sudden strong pull on my hand. Caught off guard, I fell straight into Jacob's arms. The pale, hazy moonlight filtering through the window cast Jacob's silhouette into indistinct shadows. The distance between us abruptly closed. Scorching breaths fell upon my neck inch by inch. "Then prove it to me." Jacob seemed to mean he wanted me to kiss him. But he never even let me hold his hand before. Did I misunderstand? I tentatively moved closer to his lips, then a kiss. I thought he'd push me away immediately. I didn't expect Jacob to be so composed. He wrapped his arms around me, trapping me against his chest. "Kiss me if you want," he said, as if I actually wanted to. "Wasn't this your idea in the first place?" I steeled myself and quickly pecked his lips. Jacob wasn't satisfied, raising an eyebrow. "That's it. Wait, what's wrong with him?" Not only didn't he tell me to get lost, he actually seemed to want more. The large hand gripping my waist gradually tightened its hold. The man's gaze was too dark and domineering. It made my heart flutter nervously, and I instinctively covered my lips. "That would require additional payment. Name your price, I can afford it." "The price of reconciliation." The scorching gaze fixed on me gradually withdrew. Jacob let out an ambiguous chuckle and released his arm. I thought he would refuse, but unexpectedly, he said yes. "Evelyn, you'd better have at least one truthful word in that mouth of yours." Jacob's fingertips traced leisurely across my lips. Those dark, brooding eyes churned with emotions turbulent to a startling degree. I felt like I was about to explode, my heart racing wildly. A crimson flush spread from her neck to the tips of her ears. After getting back together, Jacob inexplicably went crazy, insisting on taking me everywhere with him. I became like an accessory, accompanying him to the office every day, dragged along wherever he went. When I complained of boredom, he tossed me a stack of books thicker than bricks to read. I said I wasn't that bored. Jacob gave me a cold look. "Yes, you are." Days passed as I buried myself in books until my eyes turned vacant and my face grew pale. Dusk deepened, the crimson sun hiding behind low-hanging clouds. "Where did you get to in your studies?" The man strolled over leisurely after finishing his work. I blinked my heavy eyelids and replied numbly. "Wild birds use trading financial assets to capture calculus, assuming mom invented concrete, combining blood circulation. The baked sea language turns out crispy, otherwise it increases ground friction and aggravates arthritis." What kind of nonsense is this? Never mind, stop studying for now. Jacob rubbed his temples and hauled me up. He was dressed in an exceptionally refined and luxurious manner today. Over his impeccably pressed suit, he wore a knee-length dark overcoat. A pair of gold-rimmed glasses perched on his straight aristocratic nose. What a pretentious bastard. I gritted my teeth secretly, deliberately stepping forward to wrap my arms around his waist and tilting my head up for a kiss. "Hubby is so good. I really want to kiss you." Originally, I intended to disgust him. This was his office. In broad daylight, to my surprise, Jacob chuckled softly and pulled me into his embrace. "Come on, let me give you a kiss." I declined stiffly. This isn't appropriate. I could even hear the secretary's footsteps pacing back and forth in the hallway outside. Jacob lifted me onto the desk, his palms burning through my clothes with a heat that made me shiver. "No, it isn't. But I can't resist your enthusiasm." His gaze darkened as he pinned me in his embrace. 19, who was the passionate one here after all? Gritting my teeth, I refused to believe he'd actually dare do anything to me, tilting my head up to kiss his Adam's apple. As the back of my head was held firmly, the murmured vibrations from the man's throat gradually seeped into my heart. My face felt a bit warm. Fortunately, the secretary knocked on the door to say the scheduled client had arrived. Jacob sighed softly, gently pinched my chin, and finally released me. "Go have fun. I'll take you to your favorite French restaurant when I'm done." I stared blankly at the closed door, lost in thought. This guy isn't just the refined scum he appears to be. He is refined scum through and through. Pathetic, just a kiss with a man, and you're blushing from head to toe. The system suddenly piped up, clicking its tongue in amusement. "What the hell are you doing checking out my toes? Spend that time optimizing your crappy network instead." The heat on my face still hadn't subsided. I was both embarrassed and furious, and his words made me even angrier. The system lowered its head like a scolded child and quickly changed the subject. "But don't you think Jacob is being unusually nice to you lately? He couldn't possibly be serious about this. What if we can't break up when the time comes?" I pursed my lips and reminded, "Have you forgotten? He still has that childhood sweetheart, white moonlight." The system fell silent for a moment before replying, "That is true. Let us hope they have enough conflicts to buy us these 3 weeks." A sudden surge of gloom welled up in my chest. Extremely irritated, I left without waiting for Jacob. Damn it, I must have watched too few male models, and now my brain is getting muddled. Playing it smart, I logged into my newly registered social media alt account and started venting wildly. Male model DD stressed to the point of madness, take me for a moonlit drive, price is negotiable. Soon someone replied DD. It was also a newly registered account. I didn't think much of it, after all new accounts are more convenient for this kind of shady business. Summoning my last ounce of energy, I texted Jacob, honey, got something on tonight, 1 be coming home. Jacob ignored me. 20. The night was deep and silent, finally free from Jacob. If only briefly, I sprinted wildly under the moonlight. Panting heavily as I rounded the corner behind the villa, the male model was already waiting. The black motorcycle was parked by the roadside. In the shadows not far away stood a figure tall and slender. He leaned lazily against the wall, cupping his hand slightly as he lit a cigarette. The flame flickered, intensely sizzling as it burned the tobacco, sending up a swirl of pale gray smoke. From my perspective, everything was hazy. I could only make out his straight aristocratic nose bridge and sharp jawline. I lowered my voice and waved at him. Hey handsome, I'm here, nice ride. Echem, he grunted through his nose. Turning his face slightly, he gave me a half smile. The excitement coursing through me vanished the moment I clearly saw the man's face. My eyes widened as if I'd seen a ghost, my expression collapsing. Why is it you? You really didn't want to see me? Jacob's voice turned grave. No, of course not. I kept my head down, not daring to look at him. Cheated on someone with my own husband. What should I do? Urgent, waiting online. Jacob stubbed out his cigarette and stepped closer. Want to see male strippers? Want to ride? Want to watch the moon? I lifted my foot to turn back, suddenly feeling a bit sleepy. I want to go home. Evelyn. Jacob stopped smiling, his long arm reaching out to grip my wrist. Remember, you're someone who has a boyfriend. His low, ominous voice dissipated in the chilly night breeze. It sent a shiver down my spine. I responded half-heartedly, feeling somewhat wronged. Even though his heart belonged to someone else, he still had to keep himself in check. With a sullen face, I was about to head home when Jacob called out to me again, get in the car. I was upset and started speaking without thinking. It's just a short walk home. I'm not so lazy that I can't handle this little distance. Jacob glanced at me sideways. Wasn't it you who wanted to go for a drive and look at the moon? Changed your mind? I obediently got in the car, but couldn't help muttering, no main course, but some dessert is better than nothing. Jacob's voice carried a hint of gritted teeth. Evelyn. I quickly wrapped my arms around his waist. Your waist is so soft, I love it. Jacob snorted coldly. The night breeze carried a trace of chill as Jacob sped along the mountain path with me. He drove fast yet steady. My heart raced with the speed, yet it remained steady as a rock. Jacob's voice scattered in the wind. Is the moon beautiful? Gazing at the high-hanging bright moon, I tightened my grip around his lean waist. She smiled brightly. It's beautiful. 21 time flew by in the blink of an eye, with only 1 day left to complete the mission. During this period, Jacob treated me exceptionally well, his gaze burning and lingering whenever he looked at me. His kisses were always urgent and intense. Amidst the burning passion, our lips and teeth tangled until my lashes grew damp and my body went weak in his arms. Only then would he release me. Then, caressing my face, he'd whisper, Evelyn, can't you live without me now? If you kiss me, you'll have to take responsibility. In a daze, I thought he might have truly fallen in love with me, until Jacob told me to accompany him to Margaret's birthday party today. Only then did I finally snap out of it. Today, May 26, Jacob's door passcode is her birthday. Taking me there today was probably just another move in their power struggle. That was close. I almost lost my head. On the way, I stared out the window in silence. I've always been a good actress, but today I couldn't even fake a smile. Jacob pinched my cheek and coaxed. I know you don't like Margaret, but our families have been close for generations. We still have to show some respect to the Margarets. If you're really unhappy when the time comes, just make an appearance and leave. So I'll make an appearance and go home, leaving you two to your sweet nothings. Hey, you bastard. Forget it, it's the last day anyway. After today, everything will be over. 22 Margaret's gown today was sweet and gorgeous, making her look playful and lively. Her eyes instantly lit up when they fell upon Jacob. The flames instantly reignited when he saw me again. Jacob, how much longer are you going to keep pretending with this woman, just to spite me? I was wrong, can't I just apologize to you? Today, as my birthday, I don't want to see this wicked woman, get her out of here. Jacob specifically warned me not to argue with Margaret before coming in. So I simply treated it like a pheasant crowing, maintaining my composure as I smiled faintly at her. Unexpectedly, it was Jacob who darkened his expression. For the first time, his usually indifferent face revealed gloom and cold hostility. All right, their play is about to begin. That's how those old-school melodramatic angst fics always go. And I'm just the vicious supporting female character here to deepen the heroine's misunderstanding. I get it. I retreated to a corner with a glass of wine in hand, looking at Jacob from afar through the crowd. His profile was sharp and severe, his gaze cool and detached. Beside him, Margaret was delicate and vivacious, and the two of them standing together looked strangely well matched. I averted my eyes and turned away, heading to the nearly deserted balcony. Hurry up and end this before long. Someone suddenly embraced me from behind, Jacob's lips brushing against my ear. What are you thinking about? Thinking about you. The balcony under the moonlight faced the garden where roses exuded their fragrance, swaying wantonly with each gust of wind. His kiss suddenly landed on my earlobe, the scorching breath searing my skin. I had to bite my lip hard to keep from making a sound. Seeing he showed no sign of stopping, I pleaded, there are too many people here. Let us go home first. Jacob paused his movements, then gently pressed another kiss against my neck. Intimate and lingering, yet when he spoke his question was which home are we going back to? Evelyn, are you planning to break up with me? I froze. A chill ran through my body. 23, could my acting have given me away? I turned back to him, wrapping my arms around his neck in an intimate embrace. What nonsense are you talking about? Why bring up breaking up all of a sudden? Just one more day, just 4 more hours, then I could complete the mission. Jacob's hand holding mine suddenly paused. If not today, then tomorrow. Jacob's eyes darkened, emotion surging within them. The moonlight mixed with dim lamplight fell across his face, making his complexion appear strangely pale. He seemed a bit sad and somewhat disappointed. His tone was cold, tinged with an indescribable sorrow. If tomorrow works, that's fine too. But you must tell me. I'll leave the choice to you. He lit a cigarette, and amidst the swirling smoke, I suddenly remembered the day Jacob drove me home after our joyride. Jacob, who had been smiling like a spring breeze just a moment ago, suddenly turned serious. Word by word, he said to me, Evelyn, tell me what you want. Don't go looking for someone else. And don't disappear suddenly either. A cigarette burned down to its filter, yet he still refused to stub it out. I stared at Jacob in wide-eyed disbelief. My heart was screaming for the system. Why does Jacob seem to know about the mission? 24. The system hesitated for a long time before daring to speak. Turns out I wasn't wrong. Jacob really knew. This world had welcomed countless mission takers before. Some systems were too low level, and when they locked onto him as a target, he could sense their presence. The first time he was moved by my fawning performance and softened his heart to help me complete the task. Little did I expect my persona would completely collapse, and an unexpected mishap occurred while submitting the task. I plucked the cigarette butt that had burned down to Jacob's fingers and tossed it into the trash, my mind already made up. Let us break up tomorrow, okay? I said in a pleading tone. Tomorrow passes, he'll go love his childhood sweetheart, and I'll return to my home. We each returned to our own paths. The color drained slowly from Jacob's face as he let out a low mocking laugh. After all that's been said, you still choose to leave. Turns out I was the only one who took it seriously from start to finish. I dropped the act too. If I don't leave, how can I make way for your childhood sweetheart? What do you mean make way? Jacob pressed his lips together. There's nothing between us. Any interaction we had was just perfunctory politeness out of respect for our family's relationship. I glared. Your door lock code is her birthday. The password was set by the butler. I didn't know, and didn't bother changing it since it didn't matter. He stepped closer, gripping my wrist with a stubborn expression. Now, answer me again. Are you willing to stay? There are no more misunderstandings. Hearts have been laid bare. Yet I still pried Jacob's fingers open one by one. Jacob, I do like you. But I can't like only you. I have family who love me, dear friends, and a career I'm passionate about. Jacob, I can't love you all alone in this world. I watched as Jacob's face turned deathly pale. So can we break up tomorrow instead? As if he had long anticipated this outcome, Jacob gave a bitter smile. Fine, we'll break up tomorrow. That day I slowly vanished before his eyes. I watched Jacob's expression shift from lifeless despair to panic, then finally to near madness as he tried desperately to keep me, his voice hoarse with desperation. Evelyn, I regret it now. Don't let me catch you again, or I'll never let you go. Tears were glistening in my eyes too, though he couldn't see them. Jacob, thank you for being willing to let me go. 25. I returned to my world. No system, no Jacob. After experiencing sudden death, I reduced my working hours and began to cherish the company of family and friends more. A year passed and life was peaceful and happy. But sometimes when I gaze at the moon, I still remember the mountain breeze, the stars in the sky, and the cicadas chirping by the roadside from that day. And the person I held in my arms back then. My family and friends often see me lost in thought, always saying they want to set me up on blind dates. I refused them all until that day, when my mother tricked me into attending a dinner. I sighed as I listened to my mother's endless chatter by my ear. This guy is really exceptional, comes from a scholarly family, and just returned from studying abroad. I frowned. No matter how outstanding he is, I don't want him. Before the words had even finished, a familiar voice suddenly rang in my ears. Auntie, sorry I'm late. I looked up in a daze at that familiar face. Unable to believe my eyes, I murmured, Jacob. My mother beamed and tactfully excused herself. I'll go to the restroom, you two chat. Jacob ignored me and sat down in front of me on his own. He lifted the teapot and poured the tea unhurriedly. Didn't I tell you not to let me catch you? I opened my mouth, originally intending to ask how he came to this world. But her eyes grew hot as she reached out to lightly grasp his fingertips, only to say, then don't let go. From the male lead's perspective, Jacob initially had no intention of helping Evelyn complete this task, finding it troublesome. Yet, after several months, he had lost 10 pounds from the relentless pursuit. He felt that if he didn't agree, soon he might be in real danger. Also, he felt a bit sorry for that little simp who was trying to win him over. That day, Jacob was working in his study, his gaze occasionally drifting through the floor-to-ceiling windows to the road leading to the villa. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Evelyn. Good morning, hubby. I'm on my way with your food. Clutching his stomach, which ached from hunger as he waited for her, Jacob stared at the crimson sun hanging low in the western sky and fell into silence. How should I reply? Say goodnight early. Finally, he put down his phone and rubbed his temples helplessly. Before the sky completely darkened, Evelyn's figure finally appeared. She wore a fluffy rabbit scarf hat with a lunchbox hanging from her bike handlebars, wobbling along on her bicycle, still bleary-eyed and not quite awake, adorably so. Jacob's lips curved, the corners softening unconsciously. But then disaster struck in the blink of an eye. As she yawned with closed eyes, she veered sideways and crashed straight into a tree. The lunchboxes scattered across the floor as Evelyn sat clutching her hand, her reddened eyes brimming with grievance. Jacob threw down his pen and rose to head downstairs. But the moment he stood up, he saw Evelyn twist into a grin, spring up abruptly, and start smashing a bicycle against a tree with loud clangs. Leaves came showering down in a rustling cascade. After venting her anger, she picked up the food container, ignoring the bicycle lying on the ground with its parts scattered and wheels still spinning. Limping over, she called out gently to the butler through the gate. "Hello, I'm here to bring my husband some dinner." Jacob thought Evelyn might genuinely like him and had endured much hardship for his sake. So he agreed, just wanting to get through the 3 weeks, complete the task, and send her home. He didn't dare be too kind to Evelyn, either afraid she might grow too attached and become reluctant to leave, truly clinging to him. He'd seen such cases before. They were troublesome. Turns out he was overthinking it. By the time social media exposed everything, the culprit had long since vanished into thin air, leaving only deafening silence in her wake. Alright, now he was so angry, he couldn't even speak. Turns out she'd been acting the whole time, never truly caring about him at all. He let out a cold laugh, his fury tinged with an indescribable sense of frustration and loss. He vowed to teach that lying mouth a proper lesson. But at the banquet that night, listening to her tender words and sweet nothings, even though he knew there wasn't a shred of truth in what she said, he still couldn't help but feel a secret delight. Jacob was somewhat startled by his own reaction. Finally, he could no longer deny the truth to himself. It turned out he had been the one falling all along. Suddenly a selfish and despicable thought arose in his mind. He wanted Evelyn to like him enough to stay in this world for him. Sometimes he felt as if Evelyn had truly fallen for him. She had so many sweet words to say. She never resisted his kisses, always with a shy and bashful demeanor. She would even get jealous because of him. Who says a little liar can't tell the truth? In the end, he was left waiting to be abandoned while Evelyn waited to go home. Her choice was made without even a moment's hesitation. After she left, Jacob first tried his best to pretend it didn't matter, then began to feel somewhat lonely until eventually life seemed utterly dull and meaningless. He sought out the system and asked if he could change his identity to enter her world. The system said it was possible, but he would have to exchange his fortune and life in this world for it. Jacob agreed, and so just like that, he abandoned everything and arrived alone in another world. Then he feigned indifference and said, "Didn't I tell you not to let me catch you again?" Only he himself knew how grateful he was for this reunion. The end.